Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about why you should be purchasing damaged and incomplete vintage items. If you are a person that likes to buy pristine, perfect vintage collectibles, this is my TED Talk to you on why you should open your heart to buying imperfect items. Also, if you're a person who wants to have the beautiful vintage antiques that are really expensive that you see in magazines and on Instagram, then this is your way to get those items for really cheap, really affordably, and to not, take a second mortgage out on your house just to buy a really nice piece of Pyrex. Why should you buy broken, incomplete vintage items that are missing pieces? I'm going to give you 3 reasons why. The number one reason, and the most obvious, is because it will save you a fortune if you are okay with buying items that aren't perfect. If you want to buy a specific collectible that is really expensive, the best way to get your hands on it is to buy flawed pieces, which is what I do. I own very few perfect pieces, and I'll talk about it later, but I don't even like owning perfect pieces. I prefer owning vintage items that have problems. My second reason is because when you see a vintage item like a cookie jar that it's missing a piece, or it has chips, or it has paint that's coming off, the nice thing about it is it wasn't a piece that was preserved behind a china cabinet to only be used in special occasions, and the special occasion never came. It was a piece that was used regularly. It could have been like grandma's cookie jar, and she made hundreds, thousands of cookies, and people reached their hands in there over and over again. You have a piece that has history, that has a story. I love that about vintage pieces that are imperfect. If you want to own vintage Pyrex, I'm going to tell you, buy pieces that have dishwasher damage. And I know that that is like sacrilege to a lot of people, but look at this piece. This one is really beautiful. I mean, it does have chips and the paint isn't perfect, but overall, this one is gorgeous. And then we got this guy. He has been through the ringer, right? This one has definitely been through the dishwasher. A lot of his paint is gone, but I decorate with all of these. I bought this as a big set at a thrift store, and then I bought this one as thrift stores too. And look at this one. This one has been through a lot. But I decorate with all of them, and I still think they're beautiful. I see a lot of videos on Instagram that are about dishwasher damage on Pyrex, and like they'll be a video of someone going to a thrift store and seeing a dishwasher damaged Pyrex and just saying how sad it is and leaving it behind. And that makes me a little sad. I think it's okay if you don't want to buy it, but to be honest, I see dishwasher damage as the gateway for me to be able to afford vintage Pyrex without spending a fortune. And those items really want to be re-loved by somebody that will appreciate them. And if you follow my Instagram, I would love to know, have you ever noticed that I own dishwasher damaged Pyrex? Or if I've owned any items that are obviously flawed. Can you think of any where you've gone, ooh, that looks bad? I post pictures and reels of my Pyrex and all my decor, and I get compliments on them. And I have never once had anyone say, ooh, I can't believe you bought that Pyrex that is damaged. No one has said that, and it's because these Pyrex pieces, which I decorate with all the time, they are beautifully styled in my home, and when you see them paired with some cute items, like I use this one at Christmas time, and I'll put like bottle brush trees on top, or putz houses. You don't even notice that it looks damaged. And this Pyrex in perfect condition would be really expensive, and I got this one for $1. So if you're worried about like having pieces that are kind of ugly or whatever, then just don't worry. Nobody's going to notice, and you just got to style it cute and it'll look perfect in your house. The next time you go to a thrift store or a flea market and you see a Pyrex for $1 that's got a bunch of issues, I encourage you to think differently and buy it so that you can have it in your home and make it look really cute. You can also buy Pyrex that is incomplete. So this was my dream Pyrex. It's the Daisy one, and it does not have a top. And I don't care if Pyrexes are missing their tops, or any vintage item missing its top, to be fair. Same with these ones. So this is a gooseberry one, and this should have a top with it, but it doesn't. And so I just flip it upside down to use it as a little stand. And this one does not look the best. It's got a few scrapes on it, and if you flip it around, it'll look even worse. See? It's got some problems. And there is something that you can use to help with this damage. It's called Peak, and I will link it below. I just got it, and I did use it on one Pyrex, and it helped a lot, but I have to try using it on all my Pyrex. But I will link that stuff below. It works like magic. Now we're going to talk about an item that is a recent purchase that I had from eBay, and they are the Miss Priss kitties that I purchased, and I love them. They're so beautiful. I have a whole set, and I'll show you. But first, this teapot. Okay, this is a teapot. As you notice, there's no top. This is a cookie jar. It also doesn't have a top. The Miss Priss kitty, it normally has like a little hat, and it is pretty cute, but also I got this for way cheaper because it didn't have its top. And this teapot, if you can see, it has damage on the inside. But what do I care? If it's on a shelf, you can't even tell. Here's another one that doesn't have a top. I think this one probably was a creamer or like a sugar bowl. And then I have these salt and pepper shakers that are adorable. This one even has a chip in it. If you can see, it's a pretty big chip. And all that means is I got these for a great deal, and they're very expensive. Another tip that I'm going to say is I bought all these items individually, including these salt and pepper shakers. So I bought one, and then I bought another one. I did not buy a set. And when items are sets, completed sets, half completed sets, they're going to be more expensive, especially like on eBay or at antique stores. And so if you know what you're looking for, then just buy like one item at a time and slowly collect. It's enjoyable because you always have something to look for when you go to antique stores. I really like doing that. But also, you'll save a lot of money as well, and you will feel a lot of joy when you can put all these pieces together as a set that is just for you. Now, like I said, I bought these items cheaply on eBay, and so I'm going to explain how I do that. So I'm going to have links below for all these items. They're all going to be linked to eBay, and I will explain to you how I do that. So I'll type in like vintage Miss Priss kitty and into eBay, and then what you do is you filter it to say lowest price plus shipping. And so then the very first items that pop up are going to be the absolute cheapest Miss Priss items. And those ones are going to be damaged. This also goes for, if you search vintage Pyrex, you're going to get the very cheapest ones at the beginning. And sometimes it starts with like items that are really terrible or don't even fit the mold of what it is. But just keep scrolling and you'll start to see ones. So like I had searched for the Daisy Pyrex that I love, and they're going to be ones that are missing their tops or have been cracked or chipped. And those are the ones that you can buy affordably, because a lot of Pyrex enthusiasts, people that are obsessed with perfect Pyrex, won't even look at those because they're completely uninterested in having one that has any type of damage. Next, I'm going to show you this beautiful Blendo chip and dip set. And this looks really perfect and beautiful, but it was not when I found it. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but these two pieces don't actually go together. They are completely different. I think that this dip bowl would belong with a bigger version of this, not with this beautiful pattern, but I love the beautiful pattern, so I wanted to put them together. Now, if you want to buy a whole Blendo set, which I do have a ginormous Blendo glassware set, and I talk about that in my valuable vintage item video, which I will link to if you want to learn about more vintage items that are collectible and worth money. And I bought that big set on Facebook Marketplace, and that set came with just this dip bowl. It was very sad. I'm like, man, what am I supposed to do with this? It had the wire thingy on it, and so what can I do? I can't even display it. And what made it even worse is it only had one of these little wire pieces that connects it to the bowl. And so what it would do is, since it only had one, it would just flop over. It wouldn't stay upright, so I obviously couldn't use it, and I also couldn't even display it. What I did was I bent a wire coat hanger, which you're not even supposed to use wire hangers, but you can always use them for crafts. Here's a better view of it, so you can see how it's all bent out of shape. That one's perfect. This one's not, but I just used some E6000 glue on it, and it works totally great. And then I got this chip bowl. It does have damage, as you can see. And I got this at a flea market for $5. It was on a $5 table. And I thought, this is the most beautiful bowl ever. It'll look great. And so I paired these two together. Now they are happily together. Instead of being half broken, now this piece has a brand new life. The third reason to use damaged vintage items and decorate with them is because it really takes the pressure off keeping items beautiful and perfect 100% of the time. I love that. I love that I don't have to be incredibly particular and super cautious whenever I pull out one of these items to decorate with. I'm not keeping these items in a curio cabinet behind glass so that like nobody can touch it, and if I bump into it, it's a big deal. Like, no, like I put this in my dining room, and I really, really hope that someday I will have a great group of friends where I can host a party and then I can actually use this as a chip and dip bowl, because it'd be really awesome to do that. And because this item is already partially damaged, I don't care if, you know, someone that I know accidentally bumps it, it gets chipped, the paint gets cracked. Even if it breaks, I would be sad, but it's not like it's an item that I spent $100 on and I'll be like, great, I just lost $100. This item cost me like $6 in total, and so if it breaks, it's okay. Damaged items give you an excuse to not take super good care of your items, and I'm that kind of person. I like when I pack up my items for a changeover in the season, I'll just throw them in a bin and walk them down into the basement. I don't wrap them super well. I'm just not that kind of person, and so I'd much rather have items that are imperfect. Now we're going to do a quick little break and go on a little adventure to go pick up two vintage items that I'm so excited to buy. So the first one's on Facebook Marketplace, and so I'm going to go up to their front porch and pick something up. And then the second item I'm picking up at the Retroflexion store, which is a vintage shop in Portage. And I'm so excited about both those items, and so I want to show you what I found, and one of them is very pertinent to what we're talking about today. You guys, I am so excited about this item. So you know how I just said that it's important to buy items not in a set? Well, that's exactly what I did with this Merry Mushroom item. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's the giant one. So it's very exciting because I have a complete set now. I think it's complete. Either way, I have 4 of them now. There might be 5. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, I've got 4, and I have the big mama, and I am pumped. So I got this for only $15, and they can be very expensive. And the reason I got it for cheap is obviously there's a big crack in it. And even when you see it inside, you can see there was glue dripping. But I don't care. It means that I get this for dirt cheap. And anyway, when you have it on display like this, you can't even tell, which is what matters. Look at them all in a row. Oh, they're beautiful together. I bought that one last, but then I actually bought these 3 all individually. So I went to a flea market and I was able to buy this one at a booth, this one at a booth, and this one at a different booth. And they were all really cheap. So both of these, like this one I think was $7, this one was $5, and this one was $5. And so if I had found this whole set for sale, it would be really expensive. And I got them very cheap because I bought them individually. And here, even this one has a flaw. You can see that it's been cracked, but I don't mind at all because now I am the proud owner of the highly sought after Merry Mushroom canister set. And then I just wanted to show you this item that I ended up getting. So I got, it was a cardboard box, like a storage box, and then I got this, which is a partition, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I wanted this so bad. So I first saw it a year ago at the shop, and it was not for sale. I asked about it. Sadly, the shop is going out of business, so if you are in like the Southwest Michigan area near Kalamazoo, should definitely go to that store. I've gotten a lot of good deals there, but because they're going out of business, I asked if they would be willing to sell the items, and I'm so excited that I got them. If you have any ideas of what you think I should put on these, because like some of them are not gonna actually hold anything, so I might put like a little stopper here so that it's firmer, but it might be cute like to hold sewing supplies. I'm not sure, so I'd love your opinions and ideas. Now, I talked about this item on my valuable Halloween collectible video, which I will link to, and this was the #1 vintage Halloween item that I desperately wanted and I thought I would never attain. And I wanted it for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. I would see them all the time at my favorite flea market and they were always so beautiful. And I'm like, man, I'm never going to get those because they're like a minimum $100. But you got to be patient and the right one will come to you. And so I got this one at an estate sale and it was in a sorry state, I will tell you. So you can see now it looks pretty good, but these pieces are broken off and they were just placed inside. So it was in really terrible shape. It only had like half a face, but thankfully the pieces were still in there. And so I was able to glue it back together and now I love it. Plus, especially for Halloween, it looks all creepy and Frankenstein-y that I put it back together, which is perfect. So because I was open to the fact that this thing was broken, I was able to get it for cheap. And this item, I can't believe I even got it because it was at an estate sale. And whenever you see like vintage Halloween collectibles at estate sale, they fly so fast. People will get, that's like one of the first things that people will buy when they see them at estate sales. And so it was a great score because tons of people didn't want it because it was broken. How many of these vintage sheets do you think have stains or are faded or are ripped? Honestly, I think almost all of them. And if any of them are perfect, I don't even notice because I'm so used to them all having stains on them. Like I just bought this one. I bought this one at the Retroflexion shop, and this is the most beautiful side of it, but another side of it is really faded. But whenever I decide to sew with it, I'll make sure to use the non-faded side. Vintage sheets that are in perfect condition and are brand new in the package can be really pricey, and so I just like to buy them used with stains and rips, and I get to use them for sewing. That also applies to vintage quilts and vintage hankies, vintage aprons, and of course vintage clothing. While we've been talking, I want to ask you, did you notice anything wrong with the dress I'm wearing? This is a vintage 1970s dress, and I bought it at a thrift store, and it's really cute. I love it, but this had a huge rip. It was ripped all the way down and it just had like this flap that was hanging here. And I hand stitched it back together and I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect or anything, but it's well lived in and it gets another life. It didn't end up in a landfill. And I also don't have to feel like I can only wear this dress on like special occasions because it's already been ripped before. If I rip it again or stain it, it's not a big deal. If you followed me for a while, you know that I love blow molds. I live for blow molds. I did a big deep dive into vintage blow molds, so I will link that video. And I want to show you a recent blow mold that I found on Facebook Marketplace. And I'm going to point out all the things that are wrong with it because almost every blow mold that I own has things that are wrong with it, and I don't mind. It means that I get to afford them. I got this creepy tall witch, and I love her very much, but she has a ton of problems. So she has a bunch of paint missing. I mean, this looks like there was duct tape on it at one time. Right here you can see it looks like there's like sticker residue here. And then she, even more importantly, has cracks showing, which is always a big deal with blow molds. But my favorite blow mold that I own and that I get so many compliments on is my huge Don Featherstone Dracula blow mold. And if you've ever tried to buy that, it is very expensive, like unbelievably expensive, one of the most expensive things that I own. And I thought I'd never be able to afford it. And I was able to get it because it has really big cracks in it and it doesn't have perfect paint. And I got it for $45, which is really cheap compared to how much it normally is. So when it comes to blow molds, if it has paint issues, if it's cracked, whatever. It means you get it for cheaper. The other thing is with blow molds is you can buy replacement lights. So this one didn't come with lights, but you can easily buy the replacements on Amazon. And so I will link the light replacements down below because whenever they don't have their lights, I find that blow molds are cheaper. So friends, do you prefer to buy damaged items and perfect items, or do you like the pristine perfection? Let me know in the comments. And if you have any tips on how to save money for other people when it comes to vintage items, let them know in the comments. That would be awesome. I really appreciate when you leave comments and when you give it a thumbs up or when you subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching my videos and supporting my content. You're the best. Bye!